critical conversations is a undervalued, underappreciated, under talked about skill that every business owner, every leader needs to understand and recognize what a critical conversation is, when you need to have one, how to have one tactfully, because a
Mhm.
mishandled critical communication, critical conversation can result in friendships being destroyed, painters quitting, lawsuits. But a good critical conversation can result in an amazing employee experience, increased productivity, better buy-in, better camaraderie. And what I mean when I say a critical conversation is a conversation that needs to happen that will impact performance and be just a significant conversation. So you can have a critical conversation with your wife, with your spouse, with your kids, but in this case, it's like with an employee. So if an employee is underperforming, you have a couple of different directions. Number one, do you make snide remarks at them haphazardly until they either figure it out or leave? Or do you talk behind their back to the other employees? Or do you approach them head on, have an adult conversation structured in a way with empathy to get your point across, to let them know that something needs to change?
And most of the contractors that I see that are stuck, that can't break past a barrier, do one and two examples. They either like do snide comments or they talk behind people's back, and it just kills camaraderie and morale and culture, and people leave. And then
Yep.
they wonder why they can't find good employees. They probably had good employees that they just didn't treat them right. That's a
Yep.
huge thing I say all the time. Bugs me to no end.
100%.
Yeah.
What's a critical conversation you had to have recently, last
Dude, I
12
had one
months?
this morning. I have them, I don't want to say frequently, but
As often as necessary.
as often as necessary. Sometimes there's a couple in a week. Sometimes there's months without any of them. But like backing up again, like I said, about 5 years ago for me, the end of 2019 is where I had like a couple like coming to Jesus moments with my personal accountability. And it was about that time that I actually started this company. Left my previous agency for some partner issues I won't get into. And really, really owned in like personal ownership, communication, just that's really 90% of like my learning and stuff is about that. Critical conversations is one of those things that I had to majorly rehab how I was doing. Like if I've been with my wife now for, um, God, like 18 years. So we've been together for a long time, which is great. But like, and we've been good the entire time, right? But even within good, there's been moments of like meh good and wow, really, really great. You know what I mean? And so if we look at like that relationship, every time I go back to a point where like I was avoiding critical conversations, you know, or she would blow me off or I would blow her off, there's something that there's a tension about a subject and we just wouldn't sit down and intelligently talk it through. We just berate each other, like you said, like just with employees, like do anything like that. It was just toxic for the relationship. And we're at a place now, thankfully, like we just don't do that. We have really great conversations and really, really happy with where that relationship is. But that wasn't her before. That was me before that was limiting
Mhm.
that, you know? But at the same time, I was doing it with my team as well. I've had a few really important critical conversations with some team members, like one that was having a hard time with like trying new things and breaking out and experimentation because they're just fearful of like repercussions, which means that I created an environment that they were fearful of repercussions, right? So that was like both a coaching moment for them, but also a learning moment for me. That's a pretty big critical conversation, right?
Yep.
We change policies, we change practices, I change communication styles, you know what I mean? All because of that critical conversation, all the while challenging that person to change some things on their end too, right? Had one today with, performance related issue and more of a follow through issue with a team member, and you know good coaching moment. I think we learned a lot. We came around with some takeaways, both from our side and from their side, workflow issues. And basically we just, I view these as like, these critical conversations are like learning moments. And if you, like you said, if you handle them intelligently, you'll learn things about you, you'll learn things about them. You might get to a path where that conversation still ends and we're going to part ways. You might,
Yep.
But more often than not, I found that like problems that explosively go away, like employees just quitting or girlfriends or spouses just leaving you, that didn't just happen at that moment. It's been happening for a while, and you've avoided big conversations going up to it you didn't even pay attention to,
Yep.
you know?
I think that also with a critical conversation, to give like some tangible closure to this conversation, to this part of our conversation, um, let's go to an underperforming employee as an example, right? A painter is underperforming. Maybe they missed a couple of shifts or they were late. Right? Are we going to go tackle this head on and say, "Hey, Johnny, you've been late. I'm frustrated by it. You got to shape up until, or else you're out. If you don't start showing up on time, every single day, you're fired." That's one way of approaching it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other way of approaching it is first by like seeking to understand, like what is really going on, right? And we had like an example with a client who was dealing with an underperforming employee, and he approached the conversation. He actually messaged me. He's like, I have this pain who's like not showing up, and he's got this going on, that going on, and so I'm like, no, don't just jump down his throat. Seek to understand first. Hey, this is what I've noticed. Tell me, is anything going on? And it turns out that he was going through a separation with his spouse, and he just needed a few days to like get his shit together so that he could get back. He wanted the job, needed the job, was excited about it, but didn't realize what was um, happening as a result. So you need to seek to understand. I notice this going on. Can you tell me about it? What do you see from your perspective? Why is this happening? Is there anything I can do to support? Right, and then from there you can go a number of directions depending on their response. Okay, you remember this team. Here's what the expectations are. Um, Here's I think what we should do for like over the next 30 days. Do you agree with this plan? Yes or no? And then get a mutually agreed outcome from it. Right. Yeah, that's probably where I would stop that.
I love it, man. I'm a huge fan of like Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. And basically, the entire book is like tactical empathy, is what he calls it.
Yeah.
Um, which is, I think the tactical is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not aggressive empathy. It's not tactical, really. It's more strategic. But I love the tactics, and I use a lot of my communication style based on some of the bigger takeaways from that book. And I agree. Like he talks about it a lot in that book. It's like, don't guess, like ask questions around it, find out what's going on, because empathy is a superpower. Um, the best cultures, and the reason why like companies like yours and like Brandon Vaughn have big growing scaling companies and you have influence, um, is because of empathy. You know, I heard something a long time ago. No one cares what you know until they know that you care, and that's kind of what this means. Like that. Imagine that employee situation you just talked about with the person that was, had the partnership issue and was underperforming at work. Imagine that boss just came in and like yelled at him. He's already stressed at a deep personal level because of personal stuff. He's probably trying his best to not bring it to work, but it is, right? And it sounded like he just needed some help and a little forgiveness and a little grace. And if you don't do that, the person is just going to be more mad, more upset, probably say F this, leave the job, and now you're out an employee. But
And
that
he's out
little
of
bit
job.
of yeah, he's out of a job now, you're out of an employee. But that little bit of grace, yeah, you might have an underperforming employee for the next 30 days. There might be some stuff going on, right? But that grace, man, you can help coach them, guide them through that, you're going to have a person that like really appreciates the empathy that you showed them during that moment. And I think that's the true mark of culture.
Yep, culture and leadership, and that's the quickest path to having employees that will, take a bullet for you, right? Will be with you through thick and thin. Is being an empathetic leader that gives grace. Like giving grace is not weakness. I think that's what
No.
people will compare that to. It's like I'm forgiving you too many. Like there is a difference. Like someone, if you're getting taken advantage of from an employee
Yeah.
standpoint,
Yeah.
right? That's one thing. But if you're giving grace because someone's going through a hard time and you're trying to understand them and support them and be empathetic, like that's not weakness. That is strength because you're putting their needs ahead of the business. But
Yeah.
there are some people who are just are in the victim lifestyles where they'll have something new happen every single week, and that just, it's a trend. So you just need to recognize, is it a trend, or is it something truly happening on in this person's life that we need to support them through?
Hey, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. If you're looking for help growing your contracting business, I invite you to join my free community. In there, we go live with amazing trainings, share resources and downloads, plus you get free help from me and from peers. That link is down below to join, and we'll see you in the next video.